All right, everybody, thanks for joining us. We've got the tight ends today, and we're going to get started with Coach Turner. We'll start with questions for him with Jesse.
Hey, Mickey. Where have guys taken steps forward who could contribute after Jake, and specifically Hayden, Clay, Jalen, and Jack?
All of them. You know, Jalen's been a little nicked up this spring. He should be full go by next week. So he's the one that's probably taken the least reps of that group, but they've all been in the mix. And, you know, they're all kind of at different stages. You know, Esch is a guy that's been traveling a little more than the others, but, you know, he was maybe a role player or a special teamer, and now he's got a chance to contribute on offense. I see a great maturity in him. You know, he's approaching it like a veteran, like a guy that's his age. So he's probably, you know, put as much effort as anybody in the group, or, you know, you could ask anybody on the team. He's put as much effort in this offseason. So I'm excited about Esch. You know, Hayden and Clay are making that transition from being a young guy that's just excited to kind of do what they can to being more of that middle of the road, like, hey, I want to be out there. I want to be making an impact for us. You know, and that whole class was the first class that got impacted by having no spring ball last year. So it's been fun to see them just kind of cut it loose, and you're not having a game plan each week. You're not having to install new things day to day. It's like, here's our offense, just go play. And if you don't get it right, trust me, we're going to get another rep at it. We're going to get another reach and another seam route and all those good things. So Hayden and Clay have both kind of owned that, you know, and now there's the battle of consistency. I've seen flashes in both of them. And you got to see Hayden a little bit last year in games doing it, where it's like, okay, we can win with that performance, but can you do it play in and play out? And kind of raise yourself to that standard that a guy like Ferguson sets.
Jeff?
Mickey, when Jake came in from high school, he talked about the fact that he was basically a wide receiver, didn't do a lot of blocking in high school, if at all. And I'm not saying that Eschenbach is going to be Jake, but similar situation, wide receiver, didn't have a clue about blocking. Can you get into the details about where he is physically as well, and what he's able to do both as a blocker and receiving threat?
You know, it's a great question. I think the easy answer is just to go drone on about monotonous things like technique and work ethic, and those are all there. You know, that's kind of the foundation of this place. But personality wise, it's kind of like, how do you find your confidence to where when you're out there against another Big Ten team, you trust yourself to get it done? And, you know, Jake, his personality, we all know, was swagger from the get-go, and he knew he had a lot of work to do in the weight room, and he put that work in. He put the weight on. He's learned the ins and outs of being a tight end, but he had confidence right off the bat. You know, Jack Eschenbach, I think, had to earn it a different way, and I think his has been from outworking other people, spending the extra time. And so, you know, he shines when the lights aren't on, and he's still here on the practice field hitting the sled by himself, or coming up and meeting with me. You know, he meets with me more than any of them, asking for extra help with that. And so I've seen that confidence switch finally turn on for him in these last few months, last year even. But he had to kind of find it a different way, and similar body types in terms of what they were in high school, skinny, good athletes, both had a want to. But, you know, Jake, I think from day one was like, I want to be great. Just, you know, keep hammering me till I get there. And Esch was like, I want to be great, but I need to do it my way, and he's doing that. So it's been pretty fun.
Go to Colton.
Mickey, when you have all these young guys that are competing for different types of roles, and you know, is it difficult to divvy up the reps in practice and make sure that each guy gets a chance to kind of show his improvement?
Absolutely. I remember springs when I was playing where a couple injuries and you've got like two guys to get through the whole practice. And I think it was my senior year or junior year, Garrett Graham, you know, he was out all spring with the shoulder surgery. Travis Beckham was out. Lance was a young guy, and it was me and like a mid-year named Jake Byrne, who didn't even know how to get in the stance. And it was kind of like, hey, you're going to get like 80 reps today, go after it. And so I tell these guys now, just the way this year's worked out, and having a mid-year come in, we had 8 guys on day one. Like, I've never had that in the spring, 8 healthy bodies. So I think initially it was tough because of some, you know, guys getting nicked up at other positions. We've kind of absorbed those. We're taking what might be traditionally a fullback rep or a receiver rep. And, you know, I'm very clear in the meetings, like we make no flinch about that. Like take all the reps you can get. Because as you guys know, once fall camp hits, like things funnel down very quickly because you got to get ready for a game. So own them now. You know, I think as spring's gone on, you know, a couple guys banged up in your own room, and so the reps start to balance out. But I definitely do not feel like I'm wearing anybody out. I feel like they're all good reps, and we got plenty more to take if they're available.
Good, Steve.
Just in regard to Jake, what do you think is the next step he needs to take now, and just to get ready for the next level and also to be the best college player he can be this upcoming season?
You know, Steve, this is the first time I've seen him just on a day-to-day basis have the consistency of attitude that he's had. So he's still, you know, he's making plays at practice. He's doing a lot of things right. He's being a leader. But every other time I've been with him, there would be a day or a period where there was a little bit of let off, and he you know, I had to regroup, or I had to bring him up. Hey man, come on now, you got to be the guy for us. And he has been an absolute pro from day one with the spring, you know, probably all the way through training. I think kind of as we finish spring in the next month and then get ready for the season, I think his biggest thing in the summer will just be getting his body as absolutely strong and flexible and durable as possible, so that he can be 100% or close to it going into the games. Because if he's feeling well, I know what the attitude he's got right now. He's a matchup nightmare. He's as good as anybody. But you know, if his body gets beat down a little bit, or you know, he has to take rep after rep and he's not taking care of himself, then a 50% Jake is just another body out there. But a guy that's feeling good, he's pretty dangerous.
Back to Jesse.
Mickey, I have two questions for you. First, you mentioned Jalen has been banged up. Paul said last season that moving Jalen to tight end gave the group something a little different. What is that in your mind? And then the second question is just in general, how important do you believe it is to get more production from some of these young guys after Jake, knowing what you're going to get out of him?
Great question. So, I mean, Jalen, just off the tape, it's athleticism. But I think when you add in his length and his suddenness, you know, you can say they're a good athlete, but that can go in a lot of different directions. But he's got the ability to be sudden, and you know, he can make DBs on our team look silly sometimes with how he changes direction, or how you add the 6'6" piece into it and how he jumps. So I've had enough players where they're awesome at technique and you got to get the most out of them physically. He's a guy that's the other. He's got great physical traits, and now I just need to whittle him down into being a tight end. But you know, you add him in with a guy like Jake, Esch, some of the real fast guys. It really balances out our tight end group, because we got plenty of hammers, we got plenty of big, strong guys. So you always want a little bit of balance. They can play off each other, you know, and that's been since I was here and before. Like, you never had just cookie cutter tight ends. There was always that a little bit more athletic guy, a little bit more receiver guy, a little bit bigger guy, and then how do you get them to do as much as they can so they can play off each other? And then will you remind me the other question, Jesse?
Yeah, I was asking, you're talking about some of these younger guys. Jake pretty much has all the catches, all the stats in the entire tight end group, save for a couple. How important is it in your mind to get more production out of these guys this season, or do you feel like you can just rely on Jake?
No, I think we definitely need more of a spread the wealth kind of mentality. And you saw it last year, you know, with some of the receivers going down. It's not like you need to be this All-American, beat every one-on-one scenario. I mean, Esch had the one catch against Indiana where he just ran a little sit route. He read the zone correctly, and we hit him for like a 25-yard gain. Those opportunities are all over the field. So it's a lot of times just knowing what to do and doing it right. And where in the past, you know, that was kind of the battle, is just getting to know what to do. I think they all know what now. And so now I feel confident putting them in the game because they'll be in the right spot. And then when you do get those hard matchups, those, you know, third mediums in the fourth quarter that you got to win, that's where they got to keep growing a little bit. And I've seen that out of some of them this spring where I hadn't seen in the past. Obviously Jake does it, but out of the rest of that group. So I think we could spend a little more time in 12 this year and be okay.
All right, we'll wrap things up for Mickey with one more from Jeff.
Mickey, I'm guessing you talked to Jake last year periodically about what his future would be, whether that meant turning pro or coming back. But until he let you guys know officially, were you surprised at all by his decision?
I think with the year that we had, just in general in college football, I wasn't hugely surprised. I knew he'd have to kind of weigh the pros and cons in his head, so I didn't think it was a no-brainer for him. But he's a guy that kind of wants to put his stamp on Wisconsin football, you know, and it was hard to do that last year. You just didn't really have the opportunity as a team to be like, hey, do you remember that 2020 year? Like, oh, I remember taking my kids to those games. Like, he hears those stories growing up of those teams throughout the years that were like memorable teams. And I think he wants, especially with his class, you know, the guys he came in with, you can look across kind of who our starters are right now and the ones that are the same age as him. He wants to finish with something strong with those guys and feel like, yep, that was our year. You know, that's where we were leaders of the team and we pushed it as hard as we could. So obviously there was the personal things that went into it, which we all know, but I think that kind of team mindset too was something that doesn't get publicized about him, but he's very conscious of.
All right, thanks, Mick. Appreciate your time.